For anyone out there that's like been doing something and they're feeling like it's not working, like don't be afraid to try a new way of expressing.
Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Lavendaire Lifestyle Podcast. It's Aileen. Today, we have a beautiful episode for you about mindset, how to become magnetic and attract the life and opportunities you most desire. Our special guest today is Amber Lyon. Amber Lyon is the founder of wellness platform Modern Mind, magnetic mindset coach, and author of You Are a Magnet. Raised in New Zealand, Amber moved to New York to pursue modeling before ending up in the world of wellness. She has worked with hundreds of clients to create alignment between their dreams and their actions. Hello, Amber. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you. We're just kind of diving in before hitting record about how I have a little origin story about my first interaction with you that I didn't get the opportunity to tell you about until like meeting you face to face. So that was a fun little story.
Yeah. So Amber mentioned how she got one of my tips from my videos of like affirmations and running, doing affirmations while running. And you still do that?
I still do it to this day. I found it at the beginning of 2021 and actually started my running journey. Like that's like the time that I really dove into going to the gym and using that as like a self-care time as well as like, okay, how can I like move my body and feel good in my body? So thank you for that.
You're like inspiring me to do that again because it's been a while since I've like done that. Do you have affirmations that you always use or go back to?
I tend to sort of intuitively just be led to whatever comes up in my mind. I've moved away from listening as much. I still do that to kind of like tap back in. It's nice to have the container of being guided and then also experiencing like that self-guidance. But essentially it's always coming back to like I'm capable, I'm worthy of what I want. And the combination of those two coming together to like actually feel good to take action.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, Amber, why don't you tell us about your backstory and how you got into mindset and wellness and started sharing online?
Of course, yeah, we just like dove straight in. Like I'm just like
It's
I am
okay.
that friend, you know, you like sit down for coffee and I'm like, let's go straight to the deep end.
Yeah.
So my name is Amber Lyon and I'm a magnetic mindset coach, which is all about the way that we can see the world from a more magnetic lens. That means wanting to see what we want to experience, whether that be more joy, more love, more light, more abundance, whatever framework you're wanting to apply or all of the above. It's essentially rewiring our brain in a way that we can actually see the world and be in the world as we truly authentically want to be. The origin of sort of my story goes back to when I was much younger and growing up in a family of addicts and like constantly feeling the grief and waves of grief of seeing family members go through addiction, which was a very overwhelming experience, especially as a child when you don't understand why people self-sabotage or why they do things that even as a child you're like, no, that's not going to give you a great result. So that really sparked something within me to figure out, okay, why do we do things when we know those things aren't good for us? And that's sort of been a lifelong journey of like constantly unfolding and discovering, because there's so many different coping mechanisms we have and different ways we show up in order to facilitate some unconscious need that's happening behind the scenes. And so the work I do today, and especially on Modern Mind, which is a platform where I share my words and my writing, is how can we introduce these little thought reframes and connect us back into our truth, our authenticity, where we feel actually capable of what we want to be doing, but also not hiding behind behaviors that are taking us further away from that place. So a lot of credit to the pain of my past and sort of navigating that with my father and my brothers. And funnily enough, my family was split in two. So my brothers were raised by my father and my sisters and I were raised by my mother. And so there's this very like the split in the family. And so I'm very tapped into my feminine side and very tapped into what it feels like to like go deep and get into the emotions. And it's been a skill of developing sort of that more masculine, like, I am worthy of what I want and I can take action. So that's
Wow.
all the tools and experiences that come together into this iteration of who I am today as like
Yeah.
an ever evolving place and expression.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing. I don't think I knew of your backstory, and just hearing that, it adds like so much depth and understanding. Like, oh, it makes sense why you're so into this, and you've probably like just overcome so much to get to this point where you are in your mindset, your career, and everything. How do you feel now, just about where you are in life, considering where you came from?
It's so crazy to me, and anyone that may have had a challenging relationship with like a father figure in their life might resonate with the fact that that sort of tends to manifest as the relationships you have as an adult, which is like the pain of it. It's kind of like that trauma like reliving itself. And that was a journey that I really went on in my early 20s of figuring out what I'm okay with, what I'm not okay with, and learning how to choose myself. And through this work and through these mindset tools, like I'm in a place now where I'm doing the work I love. Like I've just about to publish my first book. I'm in like the most beautiful relationship. I'm so in love. Like I live in the city I love. And it feels like I almost feel like guilty saying all of that because I'm like, oh, she's bragging. I'm not like it's not where it's coming from. It's just I truly believe in the power of this and I can see the shifts in my own life and
Hmm.
thank goodness because it definitely wasn't all that before and there was depression and anxiety attacks and panic attacks when I was growing up in my teenage years. So just to share that for someone that may feel like what they want is really far away. And I'm sure, you've had your own journey because you're also someone that's putting work out into the world that's like there to elevate and there to aid and there to help and there to lead in such a beautiful way. So I know you understand that sort of journey.
Thank you for sharing that. Like I think it's beautiful that you found this career where you can help people in that way because you've overcome so much. If I were to ask you what's like the main message that you hope to share through your platform, what would that be?
That your life can be better in this very moment because your life is a reflection of the way you see it. And so to sort of break that down, we see what we're looking for. And that's based on sort of the habits and patterns of what we've been looking for in the past, sort of imposing itself on the day that we're in right now. And so with Modern Mind, it's these little tiny practical reframes on your life that help you just sort of see it in that new light and see potentially a challenge or a change or self doubts that are coming up and see them from a different way. Hopefully, so that someone can actually feel more empowered and better in that moment than they did just a moment prior. It's
Yeah.
ambitious, but that's really the core of what I do and why I do what I do. I think I'm curious, what's your why behind Lavendaire and the brand?
Yeah, my why is helping people create their dream lives and recognizing that they have all the tools and resources within and that they have like each person is a unique light and we're all meant to express that light, whatever that looks like. And it feels good to express your authentic self and that authentic light. And that came from my journey of not knowing what to do with life and I was lost and I had trauma and just this journey of like healing and learning to be more and more your authentic self and deciding, okay, this is the life I want to create for myself, and then just going for it. I think that's beautiful. Like, honestly, when I read your content, and it feels so like it resonates with me so deeply because I feel like we are on a similar path and we see things in a similar way.
Completely. I feel like everyone in the audience is like a light worker, which is like how I refer to people that are like trying to just like add their light to the world. Exactly as you're saying,
Yeah.
we each have that unique light. And especially in the world of social media where it can be toxic and it can lean that way, that there's this little corner of the internet where people are like actually like supporting one another and like
Yeah.
rooting for one another. I love that. I never thought that social media could be such a positive experience as I've had with Modern Mind,
Yeah.
especially coming from I didn't give context to the fact that before I sort of found my way into this work, I spent a fair bit of my like career time modeling, and that was such a toxic life to be leading,
A
and such a
different
toxic,
industry. Yeah.
yeah, and like in that social media world, it's just like constant comparison and like getting
Mm-hmm.
online and like not feeling good enough, and like that just feedback loop, when you, like the doom scrolling.
All right, it's time for a short break. This episode is proudly brought to you by Lola V, the award-winning hair care line founded by Jennifer Aniston. Introducing Lola V, clean, plant-powered products for every hair type and texture. And a special treat for you, for a limited time, you get an exclusive 15% off your entire order at lolav.com. Just use the code TLL at checkout. I've been using Lola V's restorative shampoo, conditioner, and intensive repair treatment since we moved into the new house, and it makes my showers feel like a spa-like experience. I love the clean aesthetic of the packaging, as well as the natural plant-based ingredients. Unlock Jennifer Aniston approved hair at lolav.com. As our loyal listeners, you'll get an exclusive 15% off your entire order when you use the code TLL at checkout. That's 15% off your order at LOLAVIE.com with the promo code TLL. Please note you can only use one promo code per order and discounts cannot be combined. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Your hair will thank you. Why don't you talk about that? Because a lot of people struggle with that, right? Everyone struggles with comparison and self-esteem issues because of social media and because you were a model and you went through that, but you're also about like conscious mindsets. Like, how did you navigate it? What advice do you have for people?
There's a few things that come to mind. One of them is boundaries, and secondly, it's your authenticity, like what you're speaking to prior. I'm going to start with authenticity. When you're showing up online and you're looking at people and feeling less than, it's because you're not spending enough time turning within and celebrating what you like about yourself and your own authenticity. And the more you double down, even if it's literally grabbing a pen and paper and writing out like the things that you love about yourself, the things that you adore about, like your personality, the way you show up as a friend, like maybe it's like the way that you can laugh easily or the way that you dance, little things, like really doubling down on what you appreciate about your own authenticity will lead you to feeling that constant comparison less. So I think that's like sort of a private practice separate to the social media world that can be really helpful. But the second really being the boundaries. And it's a weird one to talk about because being on social media, like my whole brand, my business is on social media. So a part of me is like, spend more time on it. But also a larger part of me is like, you should have boundaries, like anything in your life that you have a relationship with. We have a relationship with social media. So in what ways can you make that a safe experience for yourself? In what ways can you make that an experience that leaves you feeling better after engaging with it rather than worse?
Yeah.
So for me personally, that looks like not looking at my phone when I first wake up and not looking at my phone before going to bed, roughly like 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And unfollowing accounts that don't make me feel good. I know we hear that a lot, but like, don't worry, they didn't notice. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
What's kind of your strategy being on social media? Is it something that you have boundaries with as well?
Yeah, I have to. That's something that I relate to too, because it's like your career is on social media. It's like I used to spend so much time watching stuff because I'm like, oh, I'm researching, I'm learning, I'm seeing what people are doing. But it just, I don't know, you just get stuck and your mind just feels so terrible after being on it so long that I literally try to live most of my life off social media. And yes, I do check in, but I find that I use it less and less now.
Mm,
Like it's great as a platform to share and also like support my friends and be there for some people, but I don't know. I it's healthier for me to not be so plugged in.
I think it's healthier for everyone to not be so
Exactly.
plugged in.
Exactly.
I like couldn't agree more. Like worry less about how your online life is as much as you're worrying about how your offline life is, exactly as you said.
Exactly.
That
Mhm.
is such a life shift happened for me when I stopped prioritizing like what I appeared to be to other people, and then really took a step back and was like, who are the people around me that I really love and adore, and how can I invest in them versus trying to invest these like strangers on the like impress the strangers on the internet, you
Right.
know?
Yep. Yep. Invest in your real life and the real people in your life.
Yeah, because they're there. Like they're the people that you pick up and call. They're the people that like when you've had a really tough day, you want to reach out to. And I think in the world of social media, even with like partnership in your relationship, like can you keep your phone off the table when you're sitting sharing a meal together, or when you're with your friends? Like, can you give them your utmost attention and your capacity and hold space for them to share with you before you pick up your phone while they're talking? Because every time we do that, we're basically communicating to whoever we're with that this is more important than you right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart every single time. Like I'm kind of like the friend that like calls out my other friends. I'm like, did you
Mm.
just pick up your phone? Like, are you serious? But like just being mindful. I don't think we have to be harsh about it, but I I do think it's important, and I think it's something that is talked about a lot, but we don't really implement in our own lives enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Modern Mind. And I'm curious, what inspired your content style? Like, how did you know that this is the type of content you wanted to create and put out there?
My gosh, like I skipped over so
I
much of my
know.
origin story. I feel like I'm like, oh yeah, I was a graphic designer. Like
Oh, okay, okay, there you go. Yeah, because you make these like beautiful graphics and there's the beautiful writing that goes with it, and it just like it worked.
so I the writing started like as early as I can remember. Like I think my mom told me a poem I wrote her when I was like six
Oh,
or seven, and then
okay.
it turned into journals and like keeping them under my bed and like hide. That's how protective I was over like my thoughts. I kept them under my bed, which is crazy now to think like I'm literally out here like posting on like a public account.
Yeah.
But that was the origin of the writing. And then I in a transition between I had studied property, I worked in property for a while, then I went into modeling, and then I was really unhappy doing that. I came back to New Zealand where I'm from and where I grew up. I now live in New York, but I was at New Zealand at the time. And I was with a friend and I was just kind of saying, I'm feeling really lost. I don't know what I want to do. And she's just like held this beautiful space with me to ask me questions. She's like, okay, what do you like? Like, okay, we know what you don't want to do, which is like everything, but like, what do you like and what are you interested in? And basically, it came out to be like design and the world of design. And originally, I thought that was architecture, but then I dove into a digital design course and then started my own branding agency and was loving that and loved working with people to like bring things to life. That's really like no matter what I've done in my life, that's sort of the theme. I love like coming up with ideas and like visualizing them and like mood boarding them and really conceptualizing something from an idea to like tangibility. And so with I had been posting on Modern Mind sort of slowly as I started studying design and seeing how I could mock things up. And I started playing with different ways of designing the words because to me, the words were the core of it.
Hmm.
But as someone that aesthetically inclined, I wanted them to look how I felt when I was writing it. Like I wanted to like
Mm.
meld those two worlds.
Yeah.
So one thing I will say is I was very rigid with the design for a while. And the page was I think it was at like 200 followers and my mom and my sister and like my brother. And I had a friend sit down with me and encourage me to like continuously play with the design. Even when I thought I had it all figured out, keep playing with your mediums. And that helped me to really start getting more creative. And that's when the account started really growing. So just for anyone out there that's like been doing something and they're feeling like it's not working, like don't be afraid to try a new way of expressing.
Yeah.
I wonder for you, even in the YouTube vlogs, like have you gone through different iterations of what that creative process looks like?
Oh my God, yeah. I think my videos look so different now than they did in the beginning. And yeah, you're right. In the beginning, I was very rigid. I thought I had to look a certain way, and I was more like, I don't know. I prepared like an outline, and it has to just be this format. But yeah, I think over the years you experiment with different formats. You go from like super structured to super casual. And then now I have like an artistic style that I like now, like intermixing vlog clips with me just talking without a script. Because I don't know. I'm just not the type of person to write out exactly what I want to say and say it on camera. I just like flowing. So I found something that I liked that kind of work, but it's an ongoing process.
Exactly. And then, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I do it so differently now. And I think like we don't give ourselves enough grace in that process, especially like in the beginning. Like I always love to kind of share that origin story with Modern Mind and like starting the page. Not that it's all about growth, because I really want to like put that forward. It was about how I felt when I was sharing and like this like overwhelming, oh, I really want to contribute this versus like my primary intention being like, I want this account to explode.
Yeah.
Because if that had been my intention, I would have given up like a year and a half in when it was like at nothing.
Wow. Yeah. So you were really consistent with it, even when it was like slow in the beginning.
Oh, like it's so funny to me because I see it now and I'm like, what? Like, how did that happen? Like, how did it? And it really, it just there was one day, and I love this concept of like the tipping point. Helps me so much. Of
Yeah. Yeah.
you're like going and you're going and you're going, you're really pouring into something, especially if you're passionate about it. Like as I was, it's still discouraging, like when you're seeing it like not fully pick up speed or resonate. And that can apply to like anything, self work, business work, creative work, just giving ourselves a little more grace and patience for things to like unfold. Because the tipping point is that difference of 12 hours between like where my account had no traction at all to when it like really picked up and the momentum like didn't stop from that point. So anyone that's listening that's working on something, like believe in yourself and just keep at it and be consistent, because that's how you grow things.
Yeah.
Did you experience that with the YouTube channel? Did it like pick up straight away? Like
No,
was
not
that
at
the
all.
medium? Oh, okay,
No,
yeah.
oh my God, my channel growth was also really slow. I would say first 2 years, I felt like I was posting videos weekly, and then it was like so slow. No one was watching anything. It was so new at the time as well. No one was talking about self-help or personal growth on YouTube. That at least from what I was seeing. But yeah, there were moments where like let's say a video or a topic kind of like picked up and it happened to fit the trend. Like when I started talking about minimalism and decluttering, there was like a minimalism movement around 2016. You're not doing it on purpose, but you kind of get carried up in during certain videos. And so there are moments where like it all just happens at once. And then, there's like waves.
Yeah, absolutely waves. That's why you can't be in it for the outcome. You have to be in it for the reason why you got started. And sometimes I hear that and I hate that because I'm like, like that doesn't like pay my bills. That doesn't
Yeah.
like make me feel better in the moment. But it really is true. Your why of like why you're doing what you're doing is going to sustain you throughout that process, and like learning to like tap back into that state versus trying to force things to work to your timeline. Like definitely it's something I always have to keep myself in check on, of feeling impatient for things to unfold or to be further ahead than I am, or for something to happen as soon as possible. Maybe that's just my energy. I'm not sure if you're
I'm always trying to look at the future and like, oh, what's next? What's coming? And I understand. I think a lot of people can relate to being impatient. But what you
mm,
said, like, it is true. We have to enjoy the process, like, enjoy the journey and the process, and don't do it just for the results.
the results are a part of it. They're a wonderful part of it, but they're not the greater part of your life. And that's something I speak to a lot on Modern Mind, because, even seeing, I think, especially from the perspective of seeing my father in addiction and constantly struggling with that and constantly kind of leaping forward into his future. There was a really like, and not to go too deep, but I just wanted to share this. There was this moment, he passed away 2 years ago now,
Mhm.
but there's this moment where like nearing the end of his life, he said, I wish that I had really like stopped and been present. And I wish that I had actually like been with you guys and valued that,
Wow.
because I didn't at the time. And it really just like doubled down in this belief and this truth that like life happens in the ordinary moments. Life happens when you wake up and you're sleepy and you're going to go make yourself like a cup of coffee, and like you like can't wait for the holiday later in the year, but your life is happening all the way there.
Yep.
So why not make this moment the best that you could? Because that's making your life the best that it could, because it's just a series of those moments.
Yep. I love
I
that
feel like
idea.
you're in the
I
same
get it. I get
page.
it. It's just about seeing all of your life, even these small, tiny moments, as like that is your life. Your life is not the milestones and the achievements. Like that's part of it, and it's great. If you're looking forward to a trip, great. But like that's not your life. Is not only those big moments. It's everything in between.
Oh my gosh, feels like a hug even just like hearing it, you
I
know? I'm like,
know.
"Oh,
I know.
yeah."
Yeah.
Mm.
Time for another short break. The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you feel like you're carrying extra weight on your shoulders? We all face stressors, big and small, and sometimes keeping it all bottled up starts to really wear us down. That's where therapy can make a huge difference. It's a safe space to let out everything and release those burdens that you may have. Working with a therapist through BetterHelp, I've been navigating some life changes, letting go of old versions of myself and setting a foundation for something new, healing from the past and rebuilding something better. If you're considering therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, and you can always switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/TLL today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TLL. Okay. Do you have like a favorite quote or piece that you've shared on your platform? I'm curious.
Ooh, I do.
Okay. What is it?
Oh, this one I love so much. This one took me a while to realize. Everything you want for your life requires you to walk with self-doubt by your side. The ability to walk through our fears is not signaled by an absence of doubt, but an ability to walk forward regardless of its presence.
Love it.
For me, self-doubt was this like cement wall that I always sort of like had in front of me, that like I believed so much that I didn't allow myself to put myself in rooms that I knew I wanted to be in, or show up in life the way that I really wanted to be, because there was this constant like veil of self-doubt over top of me that was like keeping me being like, you're not good enough, or you're going to look silly when you're doing this, and just like realizing, oh, that's perfectly normal. Like we all experience this. And the more that I take action, regardless of whether those thoughts are there, the quieter they become. And they end up being sort of just like a natural part of life. And we take away the power we've given them, because it's just natural. Like every thought we have, we believe. Oh, yeah, that's true. It's like, no, your thoughts are observations. If I tell you to think about a purple elephant, like what are you thinking about right now, you know? So it's not that the purple elephant is real. It's just like your mind is just like constantly this free flowing river of like your observations, and self-doubt is just an untrue observation. So that's been a massive shift in my own life, and I think something that really resonates on Modern Mind when they speak about it, because it's such a human experience. And
Yeah.
again, like all these things, we're like gatekeepers. Like we walk across so many people in the street every single day that are sitting there, their minds are going crazy. They're thinking about, oh, I wish I didn't say that to my girlfriend this morning, or what am I going to eat for lunch today, or like, I look like I'm stupid in these pants, you know? So we all have this like constant streaming dialogue. And I think that we feel alone when we experience self-doubt. We think it's just me. I'm the one that can't be helped. I'm the one that's not good enough. Everyone else is capable and worthy. No, we all have it. It's perfectly normal. It's just a matter of allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to act, even if your actions are in conflict with your thoughts. And I think that's such a powerful distinction, because then you're
Yeah.
free of your mind
Right.
and you're own captain at that point. It's like the captain that's like kind of taken off. I am the captain now.
Right, right. Like realizing you don't have to operate everything just based on your thoughts because your thoughts are like they're a mess, right?
Yeah.
Like you can act despite your thought. Like it could literally conflict your thought, but you can still take the action and be more powerful than that thought.
And that it's such a weird concept. Like and it took me so long to realize that. I think I remember I wrote about this in the book actually. I had just broken up with a boyfriend when I was much younger, and I was like driving in my car and I was crying, and I was listening to this podcast, and it was with Oprah and Eckhart Tolle. And for like people that don't know Eckhart, he's like,
So
dissolve your
zen.
ego. Yes, so
Yeah.
zen. I'm like, how does this man exist?
Right?
He's like the Buddha, and I don't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
But in the podcast, and like, just picture me like crying, like holding the wheel. And he's like, you are not your thoughts. Like, you are separate to your thoughts. And I'm like, what? No way. And I had this moment of just being like, is that true? Like, is that possible? And that sort of started my journey on that of, oh, I can think something, and that thought doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. Even though it feels true, I can leave room to have another experience.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so tell us about your concept of the magnetic mindset. What does that mean?
So the magnetic mindset it came as a result of working with clients one-on-one and working through courses and really fine-tuning and tailoring what works and what doesn't. And for me, the word magnetic really resonated because magnetic suggests this visual element. And as a visual person, this is like the T for me. Magnetic radiates from its core, it draws things towards it. And I loved that visual analogy for how we go out in the world. And that the core is the most important part of that equation. We're not trying to like go out and grab at things or force things into motion. We're trying to radiate them from within us. So the magnetic mindset is really, how can you tap so truly into yourself and to the truth of your being, that is, you have always been worthy, you are absolutely capable, and that the dreams in your heart wouldn't be placed there if you were not the right person to be the messenger for those words or that mission or that idea or that business. How can you connect into that, really aligning with that truth, and then radiating those experiences towards you? And it sounds like, oh, that's nice, like I would love that. Like everyone wants to like tap into that space, but such a key part of that process is this concept of the magnetic self, which is our higher self, who we are when we're not in doubt of our power, we're not in disbelief that we're worthy of what we want. And the the veil between you feeling worthy and you not feeling worthy are the beliefs that you hold about yourself from your childhood.
Mm,
And so the magnetic mindset is sort of this like two-part framework of get really clear on who you are, your vision, what you want to create, what those messages you want to share with the world, or what your mission is, and what feels authentic to you. But then also doing the work to really shed those limiting beliefs that are stopping you from naturally showing up in that way. Because I see a lot of dialogue in the world of manifestation of like, again, it's a very like outcome orientated. So it's like, I'm going to feel good when I manifest a new car. I'm going to feel great when I manifest my partner. And I love the work of manifestation. And it's definitely like an element of this word magnetism, but it's not the whole meal, because magnetism is all about how can you make right now and you the best place to be, because you're
mm,
feeling full of yourself and you're feeling
yeah,
really magnetic in the world and you're feeling really in tune with yourself. You're feeling that authenticity radiate from you. You're like dancing as you're pouring your morning coffee
yeah.
and you're like doing things that feel good, because right now this day that's what's important. And that is what radiates amazing opportunities into your world. And coming from someone that literally, I had the dream to publish a book in my heart for so long. And I had done all the manifestation work around that,
Yeah.
which basically included sitting on my bed and like wishing and wanting for it to come and like writing it down on lists, which again, there's power to that. I'm not discrediting that practice at all. There's absolutely power to that. But the real shift happened for me when I decided no matter what happens, I'm going to make right now the moment that I start writing my book. I'm going to make right now the moment I sit down and write out the plan for what the structure is, and just lean into the joy of that experience that I was hoping that it would give me if I reached it, if it fell on my lap. And sure enough, literally 2 weeks later, I had a publishing house like drop into my emails being like, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? I was like, it works. It's
That's
so crazy.
amazing. I get so excited hearing you speak about that because I believe that, like, I totally believe in this too. It's like you have to live from that place of like pure joy and you're just being authentic. And like, yes, you can have goals that you're reaching for, but you're like enjoying it now and bringing all of that into the current version of you. Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
beautiful.
You're speaking my language versus, because there's that shift, right? Of, okay, I want these things. Like, I want the book, I want this, X, Y, and Z. And then really feeling like, but I'm working towards them. Like right now, this moment, every action I take is like one layer of that greater journey.
Mhm.
And then there's the energy of, I'm not going to start until it comes into my world, and I'm going to like try force it, and I'm desperate for it to come into my life because why isn't it here? I want it to be here. It should have been here already. That is not an enjoyable experience. It's not to judge ourselves when we go into that place because it's really human. It's really natural to want things and to feel upset when they're not there. But you're going to enjoy your day to day so much more if, again, like breaking it into what does that vision look like right now?
Yeah. And like we said earlier, it's about enjoying your journey getting there. So you might not be there now, but you can fully enjoy this present moment. It's in the little things.
It really is. It's a secret sauce to life, guys, the little things.
Yeah. So you've helped a lot of people. And I'm curious with our listeners here today, how can you guide them? Like, what is the first step to like closing that gap between their dreams and their life reality?
Oh, this is such a fantastic question. I love this. The practicality. I live in the
Yeah.
practicality. So, if someone is clear on what they want, so let's start with if someone's not fully clear on what they want, really taking the time to sit with yourself, to intuitively write out, spend like 20 minutes journaling all the things that you love doing, how they make you feel, the things that people compliment you on, the things that come really naturally to you, really like getting that out onto paper because that's going to be a lot of information. If that still doesn't give you clarity, go out and get into your life and have as many different experiences as you can because action informs clarity. And so a lot of the reason I say that is because a lot of DMs I get are from people that say, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I'm like, probably because you haven't even experienced like what it is that you want to do. So like go try so many different things and
Yeah.
surround yourself with different people and go to a dance class and go to like a sound bath and just like
Mhm.
just go and experience to get that information. Again, action, clarity, thinking, less clarity more often than not. So
Yeah.
don't get caught in like thinking through what you want for your life because
Yep.
trust me, that rabbit hole doesn't lead nowhere.
Yeah.
And so once you sort of have this clarity of like, these inklings, I really recommend, and something that I do in my courses is finding vision holders. So going out in the world and finding examples of people that are living, whether it be the full embodiment of your vision or part embodiment of your vision, and ideally having aspects of that person that you relate to. Because what's that is essentially doing is this in your brain, the mirror neurons. And basically it's seeing to believe that that's possible for you too. So I love this exercise, and it gives you a roadmap of, okay, what was this person's story? How did they start? Okay, what was this person's story? How did they start? How did they build what they're building in their career, or whether it be a relationship? And sort of just like taking in all these data points, and not in the sense to compare yourself to these people or to further justify the doubt of like, oh, look at where they are, like I can't get there. No, these are just data points for you to draw on and to be inspired by, because these people are showing you that what you want for yourself is possible. And so once you've kind of broken all that down, I personally recommend sort of going through and breaking your vision down into daily, weekly habits. So, okay, if I already was where I want to be, what would my habits be today? Okay, how would I be treating myself? How would I be speaking to myself? How would I be speaking to other people? How would I be preparing my meals? What would that look like? All aspects, like everything, all those touch points. If you were already where you're craving, your intuitive self is craving for you to be, what behaviors and habits would you have at that point? And then integrating those into now. And that's not because we have to become some perfect version of ourselves. It's not about being perfect. That routine is going to look different for all of us. For some people, it's going to be like, I work out 7 times a day. And for some people, they're going to be like, I don't work out at all. In my dream life, like I'm walking and I'm like, that's the way that I move my body, or whatever it looks like. Breaking it into tangible, practical habits is going to be what grounds the future vision into the present moment. And that's where you can really lean into, okay, let me enjoy this. And then there's the last sort of note I would add to that is detaching from the how and when things happen, and actually leaning into, let me find joy in my life as it is, as it's becoming, as it's unfolding, because that's going to be the joy, again, as they're talking about, of that experience, of that journey on the way to where you want to go. And trust me, when you get to where you want to go, you're going to like start that whole process again. Like it's this leapfrog energy from like one stone to the next. Like when we reach our goals, our desires leap forward and then pull us forward with them. And I'm sure you've experienced that a lot, even in like the iterations of your brand. And like when you start out, you're like, okay, cool, I want to get like 100 followers. And then that amplifies and it just, we grow with it. And that's the beauty of wanting things for ourselves, because it pulls us forward literally to actually go out and make it happen. So that's the framework that I would like guide someone on.
I love it. It's so great. It's so much like when you share it like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I would. I just feel like I've used those tools in my journey too. Like you got to find examples to prove that it's possible. You got to, I don't know. I totally relate to everything that you shared.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Let's take another break for today's sponsor, AG1. As someone with a lot on her plate, I appreciate when there's a way to simplify while still being effective. Instead of mixing and matching countless supplements, I've been taking AG1 in the mornings. I love that it's a single solution that supports my entire body, delivering my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day. AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrient density. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process so you know you're getting safe, high-quality nutrition. AG1 is a supplement I trust to provide the support my body needs daily. If you want to take ownership of your health this year, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/Lavendaire. That's drinkag1.com/Lavendaire. Check it out. Let's talk about your upcoming book, You Are a Magnet. So tell us, what is it about? Is it about this whole magnetic mindset?
It really is. And it also plugs in such a core part of who I am. And even that's like accurately, it came up in the conversation, like the little things and leaning into joy. So the first 3 parts of the book, and they're all guiding principles. So the chapters are 2 pages, 3 pages long. Some of them are 1 page, and each have like a practical takeaway or reminder to sort of like integrate that knowledge. I found that so helpful in reading, and intuitively it came through for this book. So it's there. It's like sort of something that you can sit and you can flick to a page and intuitively feel pulled to read whatever comes up for you, or read cover to cover to sort of experience that magnetic mindset transformation. Because the framework that I work through is essentially exactly what we just spoke through, which is okay, like where am I now? And a lot of it is around alchemizing fear and alchemizing doubt and then cultivating courage and what that looks like and finding your vision holders and specific exercises for how you find those vision holders. Working through, okay, how do I change the way I see myself in the world? And how do I create this clear self that I'm becoming from within, not trying to be
Mm-hmm.
something without me or replicate what I'm seeing around me, but how can I tap into what's true for me and knowing that that's worthy and capable and whole and can radiate those experiences I'm craving around me. And the final section of the book is really this tribute to living in joy and really leaning into those micro moments and micro miracles. It's like, it truly has been a dream, even the whole process of how the deal came about and like where that came from was such a testament to the work. And then the work ended up turning into the book. So it's just this like
Oh,
beautiful process. I'll have to
yeah.
send you one
Oh my
before
God, I'd
like they
love
go to
to.
print.
Yeah, I'd love to read it. What is your favorite lesson or chapter? Is there something that you can share with us today?
There's one that's about the power of the present moment. And the chapter of living through joy is the power of forgiveness. And the chapter is called Don't Wait, There Might Not Be Another Moment. And it was about all of the unspoken words that we hold in our heart that we're waiting for the right time to say, whether
Yeah.
those be heartfelt or whether those be hurt. And we keep them caged up and we're sort of under this context that, oh, there's going to be a time where this comes out. Oh, it's not the right time. It's going to start something with him. I don't want to get into it, or not feeling like it's the right moment. And I sort of walked through the story of when my father passed away, and I didn't get to have the conversation with him that had like always been caged up
Wow.
in my heart. And it was like a whole experience happened very suddenly, and I wasn't able to be on the phone with him. And it was this reflection on, how can we really lean into having the conversations that are in our heart, not only for ourselves, but for that other person, but just to like cleanse our heart of all of
Yeah.
this like gunk that's like surrounding it so that you can show up in the world more liberated and more free and more capable of speaking your truth because we don't have this like restriction tied up in our chest.
Wow.
So that's a particularly powerful one to me specifically, but there's so many. Oh my goodness. I think there's 70 guiding principles that are
70.
in
70 chapters then? That's a
Yeah.
lot. Wow.
It's a lot, but they're like one page or two page. So like you really like get through. But yeah, there was so many more even that I wanted to put in, but I really narrowed it down with my editor who has been
Oh,
amazing to get, okay, what is like the
yeah.
the best of the best and like squeeze it into the book.
Well, what was your process for creating the book? Was a lot of it based off of what you shared online before, or did you just like start from scratch? I don't know.
I started from scratch. So
Okay.
even going back to the origin of modern mind, that started because I had started writing a book. And I think I was
Oh,
like 22 at the time.
oh,
And I was
okay.
like, the dream had been there from that point. And then I started taking snippets of like this concept of a book into the page. And so for me, when we started working around the book, I had already written, I think it was like 60,000 words before I'd even signed the publishing deal. They're like, wait, you wrote the book already? I'm like, yeah, like I'm done. I've been working on this for
Oh my
years and
gosh.
refining and really like pouring into it. And the beauty of the book is with the Instagram, it's just you're limited on the space, and which has been great as a creative to like learn refinement and learning how to like cut fluff. But it's not to say that there's fluff on the book, but it's just there's so much more depth and there's so much more practicality and there's so much more storytelling that I was able to share and really hand holding, walking through instead of just putting a post up about like, oh, this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like to feel doubt. And these are some tools. It's like, no, like this is practically what you can go and do right now in this moment to feel better.
I love that.
So thank goodness for the book and hopefully the first of many. There's a lot of pressure around the book. So I'm like in that zone of like, okay, do the
Like it's
work,
done and now
attach.
you're just waiting for everything to like, see how it goes when it launches.
Exactly.
Okay.
Leaning into the work, leaning into the work.
Exciting.
Thank you, love.
What else are you excited about right now then? Like what's going on in your life now that you're done writing a book? Are you pouring like where's your creative energy going now?
It's going everywhere. I'm not sure if you're familiar with human design.
Yeah. What type
Oh,
are you?
so I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay.
What type are you? I'm
I'm a
so curious.
generator. So like a
Okay.
doer. Yeah.
Life force, life
Mhm.
force.
Mhm.
Manifesting generators, for anyone that's not familiar, are like these multi hyphenated, like dive into everything and then like pivot and change course and pick things up and put things down. And so the book was very grounding for me. Like it gave me like one thing to do and really like,
Yep.
and it took a year and a half
Oh, to write the
for that
book?
from even 2 years, if I'm like going right back to where that began.
Wow.
But from when I signed with the publishing house and really like dove into, okay, refining the message and going into the editing and really like cutting and getting clear on, the intention of the message and making sure I was fulfilling a promise to the reader, because that's also so important. In any creative work we're doing, we're like sort of making like a promise or making a commitment to the viewer, the watcher, the reader. And it's important as a creator to fulfill that promise. So the first iteration of the book kind of was just like floaty, and then it just refined. Now I've actually just started a meditation app that's sort of like all about tapping into that magnetic mindset. For me, they're like little recordings that I had made for myself that I would play during the day,
Okay.
just to be like, okay, how can I like boost myself up right now? It was a
Yeah.
mix of, I love listening to Abraham Hicks rampages. Like, I
Yep.
don't know if okay, you get
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
We speak the same language. Like, I love that you get that reference so much. But it got to the point where like some of them, so many had ads on them, or they just like, I couldn't find the one like that exactly what I was looking for. And so I started recording some of my own with like binaural beats. And so I've just put that
Oh, that's
into
so cool.
a magnetic app, which I'm like super excited about. It's still unfolding, it's still
Okay.
growing, it's still adding, but it's been a really fun project to like, oh, let me put my like creative river into this.
Right. Oh, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Another thing I want to ask you about is your lifestyle. Like, how do you maintain, I guess, general wellness and self care? What are the things that you turn to consistently and that you make sure you do?
Such a good question. I love like the practicality, right? It's like, okay, mindset. Like, what's the tangibility of mindset? For me, I feel like we hear it all the time, but morning meditation is an absolute non negotiable. I aim to sit down for 20 minutes every morning. And that's my time just to connect with myself, to wake up, to set my intentions in the morning, to set like, essentially, it's like the rudder of my boat in the world.
Hmm.
Okay, how can I like connect with me? And then after that, I always try to get some form of movement in, whether that be a walk or just like Pilates, like a 20-minute video. I definitely don't do it every day, if I'm just honest, but it's something I try to get in like 3, 4 times a week, because for me, movement really shapes my perception of self. It has nothing to do with what my body looks like. It has everything to do with my mind watching whether I show up for myself or not. So
Ooh,
that's like a
that's a big
key.
one.
Yeah,
Mm.
I didn't realize, because for me, my body doesn't change all that much whether I'm moving or not moving. And so I was like, oh, whatever, it's not a priority to me. And then I realized, like, oh no, like my mental health and my perception of self is suffering because I'm not prioritizing this. So that's been a big shift in the past year, to really be like, you know what, I'm going to show up, I'm going to commit. I'm not going to make this. My boyfriend has this thing at the moment where he's like 3 months, 50 minutes in the gym every single 7 days a week. I'm like,
It's a
have
bit much.
fun. I love
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I'm like, you're the best. Like, I respect you so much. I personally am not going to get into that. And I think just knowing again, like, what commitments that you're capable of being consistent with, like, it's all well and good for me to like commit to that mentally. And then the reality of that is like, I'm not going to feel good if I don't hit the 7 days a week. So let me commit to like 3 or 4 days. Time with loved ones is always a priority in my day. And that's not something that I feel like we talk about a lot, but quality time with someone I care about, whether that be a phone call with my mom or my sister or a friend back in New Zealand, whether that be like giving my full attention to when my boyfriend and I are like having a little chat in the morning, but like being fully present with him. Those moments give me so much. Like they really fuel me and they really make me feel connected to the world around me. So truthfully, like as far as like practices, that's kind of like the three like foundations for me feeling good. And then always trying to get enough water in. It's something that I struggle with, but like my boyfriend calls me a camel because I just never drink water.
Oh. I'm the opposite. I need water. Like, look at the size of my water bottle. It's like the half gallon.
So
yeah.
I need to. I was at the store the other day and I saw like a bunch of water bottles and they were looking at me and I was looking at them and I'm like, do I do it?
It's a good investment. Just get yourself a water bottle that you think is cute and just have it there.
Yeah. Okay. After this, I'm gonna like order one on Amazon.
Yeah. No, but what you shared, that's like a really great foundation already. Like meditation, movement, and then loved ones. Like that's really amazing.
It's so simple. Like I really, there's not a lot to it. And for me, the meditation practices, that's where I do like that magnetic work. And it only takes 20 minutes of my day. It's so crazy to me. I don't even need to, like sometimes I'll put like one of the meditations or I'll listen to something like inspiring or like one of your videos actually. Oh. Like if I'm trying to like amp myself up or I'm trying to like reset throughout the day, but it's so simple. What's your self-care sort of inner well-being practice?
I think it's always like shifting. I never stick to like one routine. It's like I go by what I feel I need. But usually it involves like journaling, a little bit of meditation, and something like music is also something that just like amps my mood up. So like if I pick the right like genre of music, sometimes I'm feeling classical music, sometimes I want something to dance to, right? So like as I'm doing skincare or like I'll just like play music to kind of wake my body up in a way.
Yeah.
And then meditate a little bit and then journal a bit. Journaling is my way to connect with like how I feel and what matters to me in that moment. And it's my it's my way to like connect with intuition, basically.
It's like the pen to paper moment is like one of the few opportunities our intuition has to grab the mic from the brain.
Yes.
And be like, help me.
Let me talk, please.
I love journaling. I always find like this inner resistance to doing journaling and I feel like it's something that even when the people I work with, they're like, oh, I don't want to do the journaling task of the week. I'm like, I hear you, I get it, but there's so many answers in journaling that you can see tangibly in front of you once you're finished writing, which I love. Whereas with meditation, because it's, you're visualizing and you have these insights, but they're sort of like
they're floating around, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's really hard to like grab them, and then it's sometimes even more challenging to like hold them outside of, especially with those intuitive insights and ideas. I think journaling is a much better modality for that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like to like meditate first and then journal, because I usually have a lot of like downloads or something comes up during meditation that I'm like, oh, I have to take a note on that.
I've been doing it the wrong way around. I'm like switching it up immediately. I always journal first and then meditate. So
try it the other way, because if you get a lot of insights during meditation, you need somewhere to like put it down on paper, and then that's material for you to use for a book or whatever.
Oh my God. Yeah. The practice of even the book came from essentially just like different excerpts of like old journals. And it's so fascinating, like reading through. I always love the process. And if anyone has journals, like go back and reread like some of your like entries from like even a year ago, 2-3 years ago, if you have them. It's such a beautiful experience. It's like hanging out with yourself, like hanging out with an older version of like a younger version of yourself, I should say.
Yeah.
and which is such a rare experience, but there's like so much like love. Like whenever I read mine, I always feel like my own older sister.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you were worried about that? Like it's all good. Like you didn't have to
That's
be
so
worried.
cute. I rarely go back to read my old entries but you're right. When I do, I'm just like, why was I obsessing over this? Or like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Or just like the stress, the amount of stress that used to be in my journal posts. I'm like, relax, it's all good. Like you arrived. Like
Oh. All right, Amber. So we're nearing the end. If you were to share one final message with our listeners today, what would that be?
it would be really to remind them that if they have something in their heart that they're dreaming about, that they're wanting, that they're craving, that they know that somewhere inside of them is calling for them, I want you to know that that's also calling for you. I want you to know that that would not be there if you were not supposed to be taking action towards it. We all have our own dreams. We all have our own desires for a reason. And there's something about that desire that wants to be born through you, specifically you. No, not your friend or the other one, like you. And I just want them to trust themselves and to know that it's okay to doubt yourself as you're taking action. But the most important thing is really just to take action and really just to show up in your life. And whatever that looks like, all the messy middle, all the imperfection, or wishing that it would look this way, or wishing you were further ahead, like that's all a part of it. Just keep walking towards what's in your heart and what you're feeling called to and the life that you feel called to lead, because again, there's a reason why you feel called to lead that life.
So beautiful. Okay, finally, where can we find you online?
So Modern Mind, the Instagram, it's like got a bunch of underscores underneath, just so like FYI. I
But
did
if you
not
look
think
up
about
Modern
that.
Mind, we'll find it.
Yeah, like I didn't think about that when I made it for like again, like my sister or my mom. And then modernmind.earth is the website, which has got different ways of different tools and modalities to work with me, and also the journal, which is like a long form of Modern Mind versus like what the book is, which is sort of that beautiful in between of long and then those short tidbits.
Right. And I don't think we mentioned when the book is coming out. So when is the book coming out?
Uh, Me, I'm like, oh, guys, it's so my energy. I'm like just so excited. I'm like, forget about the logistics.
So you are a magnet. When can we read that?
June 6th, it's out in America, and June 11th, it's out in the UK. But it's all available for pre order from now, which is a whole thing. Pre orders are amazing, just FYI.
Yep. I'm pretty sure
But
this episode will go up closer to then. So a couple minutes after this.
okay,
So
amazing.
it'll be perfect timing for you.
I'm so glad. Yay. It's like the shorter the countdown, you
Yes.
know?
Amazing. Well, we'll have all the links down below for you guys to check out more Amber Lyon, Modern Mind. Thank you so much today. You are just such a treasure. I
Thank
love your
you.
mind. I can relate to you on so many levels, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, bless you, love. I'm so grateful. Like, I feel like I'm sitting and talking to like an old friend.
I
This is
know.
so lovely.
I feel like we could like sit down and like talk for hours because we just are, I don't know, I feel like you get it.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I appreciate it though. So happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing this space with me. I'm grateful to even just be able to share what I've been working on, my story and all of that. So yeah, I'm really grateful.